Hey, what's up? This is Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps, and I wanted to do kind of a response to one of my videos that got a little bit more traction than I was expecting, which is about writing. So, on that, there was a couple comments, and the first one, Sid Harth said, "Love this. On average, how much time do you typically dedicate to writing each day, and how much time do you spend overall getting things done?" Aspect. I think it really varies based on the day. There are some days where I'm really productive and focused because I know exactly what I'm going to work on. There are other days like today where I'm kind of scatterbrained and I have a lot of ideas. Just got back from vacation, not as focused as I wanted to be. And I try to do my writing in the morning because that's when I'm best at writing. One of the things that I do is like a 5 minute writing timer. So I just set a timer for 5 minutes and I write, or sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 15 minutes. Sometimes I reset it and just keep going. So that's like one area that I do sort of unstructured writing. Usually, I like to warm up with some type of writing about anything and everything. Like I wrote about AI the other day just in my scratch pad. It's not anything I plan to publish right now, but it was just some thoughts that I was thinking about. And getting stuff done, that's what I'm trying to work on. So in terms of developer productivity, I really need a little bit more structure so that I can get things done. A lot of times I'm so all over the place that it's really hard to focus. So I have a newborn, I guess she's a year and a half, but a toddler, she's a bit of work, and like that's distracting. So now I know like I've really got to drop her off at daycare and get to work. And it's really easy to lose track of time. So try to write first thing, try to get up early, which means going to bed earlier rather than staying up later. And then in terms of like writing, it's all kinds of things. Like right now, I'm in the middle of some kind of blog post. So I've got a few things like this is my to-do list. This is what I've done. Today was super distracted, got caught up looking at the iPad Pro. I haven't even looked at that yet from Apple, and they had their keynote a while ago. And then I was just like researching stuff, checking out my old apps. My old apps don't compile properly or they don't render properly. I left some stuff in uh, some bad state, so I can't even run some of my apps right now because I've checked out old code that I wanted to like merge in. And like that's my writing. And then in terms of like what I'm writing, I think what I want to focus on is developer productivity because this has been helping me be more effective. And I've sort of been using a lot of these things and I wanted to kind of document it. So like those are the types of things that I'm working on writing right now. It's just like playing around in Xcode, figuring out what these keyboard shortcuts are, looking at the shortcuts menu. A lot of this doesn't feel like it's documented well. And I think there's an opportunity to just make an easy to follow cheat sheet or something that just takes you through some of these and creating some videos that go over them. Because some of these things for moving around the windows is really useful to jump to the different areas. So just playing around with that and like different keyboard shortcuts that allow you to move around, move between files, open quickly and stuff like that. So that's a little bit about sort of like what's coming up next. And then in terms of that article, Sundeep said, "Thank you so much for a super detailed video on your dev journal system. It was super helpful. Do you access these files from iPad or iPhone? And what apps do you use for that? And why not use an editor like Sublime or VS Code?" I use VS Code a little bit, but I find that it um, it's a little bit clunky at times. It's a little sluggish. It is. I think it's an Electron app. I like native apps a lot better. I use it for reading like log files, and there's like a lot of different stuff that I do play around with that. I never really got into Sublime. I've played around with that, I think, a few times and then just never got into it. I'm more interested in learning Vim keyboard shortcuts so that I can use that quickly. And then for writing, I just use multi markdown mainly because I have it set up so that I've got like this different highlighting for the different stuff, and then I can quickly do a render and sort of see what that looks like with marked and get like a GitHub layout, and then I can export this to a PDF or HTML, or I can just copy this into an email. And it's a super easy way to like format some text and have something interesting really quickly. So that's why I use that. I don't, so in response to looking on other devices, I only use Notes to look at things on multiple devices. And that works pretty well. I like Notes on my iPad. I've got an 11-inch iPad that I use for writing a lot of the time. I like it because it can be more distraction free. If I open up my Mac, I've got a million windows open and there's a lot of landmines if I haven't cleaned up my display. So that is sort of my writing workflow. I just create so many different files. They're in so many different places. Like this is probably in the wrong, I've got like a cheat sheets, I guess, thing that I'm thinking through. This is a new kind of like blog post that I'm thinking through for super easy apps content. So just sort of organizing stuff. Everything's in Dropbox. Like I could look at this on my iPhone, but I'm not going to edit on my iPhone. When it comes to writing, I think it's best to just have a simple system, find an editor that you like, use that editor. If it's not working well enough, then move on to something else. And multi-markdown composer, which is what I'm using up here, this works really well for what I need. Bigger files, it does definitely get slower. And so that's why when I'm doing my archive log, like that's a separate file. So I can just have one big searchable file. And then my day-to-day editing is fast. So that's kind of how I approach writing. But writing is really anything and everything. So I hope that answers some questions. And if you have more questions, feel free to comment down below about writing as a developer. This is just one piece of the puzzle. Documenting things so that I can remember them is super helpful for me. So that's why I create these different PDFs and blog posts, is it helps me learn as well as helping you learn. And then going through the motions, practicing. I'm going to have some videos covering these different keyboard shortcuts, because the only way you learn is if you practice. And by me practicing, you can start practicing and sort of see how the puzzle pieces fit together to be a more effective developer. So if this was helpful, click the like button. I'm going to have another video coming up that's going to be all about navigation in Xcode. So if you want to learn about that, you've got a little sneak peek here, some of that content, as well as some of the Vim keyboard shortcuts. I'll be getting into all of that for some developer productivity tips. So click the like button if this was helpful, subscribe, and I think, how does this work? If I do something like this, it's going to do some crazy effect. So have a good one. I'll see you later.